All right, it says we're live. Welcome, live from the crossroads of America, to a talk show about guns, politics, or anything else that crosses my mind. Answer questions from the audience. Either put them in the chat box or by email to Rickslifeasiseeit at gmail.com or spottyrick at gmail.com. We are broadcasting on gun channels and YouTube at the same time. I have a Patreon page, which is listed below, if anybody's interested. I also, all the audio files from every show I've ever done are on Podbean, iTunes, and Stitcher under Rick's Life as I See It. And they're like this one will be up within 24 hours of the show ending. And that's about it, really, on that. I want to say hi to the first person in the room tonight, or this afternoon, I should say, was Midnight Range, which is, I guess he's slacking there behind the counter. So he's got time to be here. So we got Midnight Range, Jason Stewart, John Brown Productions, Ozzy Osbourne, Raphael, Patrick are in the chat for right now. And believe it or not, I guess I'm becoming less popular as the weeks go by. I don't have anybody on the panel. The emails are gone out and nobody's showing up. I would say, hey, hopefully they'll show up as the show goes on. And talking about that, we got one. Clover just showing up.
What's up, Rick?
Hey, how's it going? I was beginning to think nobody liked me. I'm already going live because it's 3:00, but I appreciate you being here. And my main topic I was going to talk about today is where is it? I got this off of where is it? Off of Bear in Arms website. This was posted at 4 p.m. October the 25th, which was yesterday. Now, do we believe this? The Trump White House is quietly reaching out to Second Amendment organizations and high-level supporters to let them know that the president is no longer backing any form of red flag firearm legislation or changes to the current background check laws, according to the sources familiar with the conversations. He's heading down more of the going for mental health. He's looking at the Cornyn's bill. Mm-hmm. I referenced Senator John Cornyn. Is that how you pronounce it?
That's correct. Yeah. His
response act that he unveiled this week. The president likes that. So is this true? Can we trust him? That's my question, really.
You can't trust any politician. I mean, if you're going to frame it like that. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of people I trust have talked to him. So has the White House expressed that, that they're not going to back it and this, that, and the other? Yeah, I mean, I think they're talking to the right people, and I'm going to put my trust in some of the people like Alan Gottlieb and some of those that have talked to, they've talked to the White House. But I mean, they can flip on a dime. We know that at any time, and it only takes some type of event to occur, right?
Yeah.
For them to potentially change their mind. And I'll tell you one thing that we got to be careful about. And me being in Texas, we've had to deal with Cornyn for some time. I don't like Cornyn, by the way. He is not he's not even close to, I guess he's kind of maybe you could call him a FUD. Maybe you could call him a gun person or something like that. But, as far as 2A, I mean, Cornyn is not staunchly 2A at all. So we need to be really careful if they do go with Cornyn's bill, his proposal. We need to be really careful about what might get snuck in there, because Cornyn, that being his piece of legislation and his name on it, in order to get it passed and get a feather in his cap, right? he is certainly liable to allow some stuff to be added that could be bad.
Yes, there is that. And also, also, if you read further in this article on Bearing Arms, it also says about this, his proposal that he put in. There is some unconstitutional stuff in there, like on the mental health aspect, that is monitoring high school kids' social media pages.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that going against the amendment?
No.
Constitutional amendments of some sort.
No, I mean that's a public thing. So no.
Oh, okay.
No, that's what people have to fail to realize. People, they've got this. I don't know. It's social media has become such a huge part of life and everything, and people seem to think that because it's a privately owned platform, that the crap they post out there on the internet is that's privacy laws and blah 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 blah. And I'm sorry, what you throw stuff out on the internet just the same as you sending a text message or making a phone call on a wireless device. Yeah, okay, maybe there's some expectation of privacy, but it's going to get utilized. And don't think that schools. I mean, we already see it now with schools, because look at the instance, for example, what was that in Colorado? I think recently, where the kid had forgot if it was Instagram or Snapchat or what he did, but it was at the range with his parents or something like that at some point, and that was on his social media. And then the kid started saying some weird stuff on social media, and so the classmates reported to the school, and the school looked into his social media, and then it got all kinds of hoopla because they were going to expel him or whatever. And they said, well, they're expelling him because he had guns on his social media. And it's like, no. They expelled him because of the remarks that he made. And unfortunately, it sort of hits close to home for me, because I've got a buddy that's kid made some really off-color remarks on social media, and he was arrested and he was acquitted eventually. But you're responsible for the crap you say, unfortunately. And if you make some really off-color stuff, especially with the sensitivity of what we see with these mass murders happening in schools and stuff like that, and you make these off-color remarks, then be prepared to potentially suffer some kind of type of consequence, or at least be hindered until you can exonerate yourself.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Huh. But it's I'm just sorry. I got a a text when you were talking. It threw me for a second, but that's okay. So oh yeah. So because John, he's a Texan, right?
Cornyn is right. He's a Texas senator.
I mean, Patrick in the chat says, "Don't trust him. He's a snake."
I would agree. He stood up. I kid you not. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago now. The Texas State Rifle Association annual meeting. He stood up, and I can't tell you verbatim what he said or anything like that. But at that time, you got to think back a few years ago, right? We had suppressors, in play. We had the Hearing Protection Act in play, right? And we had national reciprocity in play. And he basically crapped all over both of those at that annual meeting. And the sad thing about it, people clapped. What's the sad thing about that?
Yeah,
I didn't, and I didn't shake the fool's hand or take a picture with him either.
No, but you're right. You're right. He did. I remember hearing about that. Yeah. Oh, what is Patrick saying here? Rick, there's also the TAPS Act monitoring kids at school. Mm-hmm. But what's his name? Your other politician was talking about that. There from Texas, the guy with the eye patch.
Yeah, Crenshaw, and of course, Cruz is weighed in. Here's the thing: we get extremely flustered on the federal level. Now, on the state level, it's totally different. But we get extremely flustered and we take things way too far with our worrying and our grief and our stressing ourselves out when it comes to the federal level. Because here was a point I was going to make about Cornyn. When you have a Republican senator that introduces legislation, do you think for a second that's going to pass a Democratic House? A Democrat-controlled House? Do you think for a second a Republican introduced bill in the Senate is going to pass in the House? No. So we're not even going to get Cornyn's thing. And it's the same way as right now. We need to be really vigilant about keeping that split between the House and the Senate, because right now we've got gridlock going on, and that's honestly it's a good thing.
Yeah, because any Democratic anti-gun bill passed in the House is not going to get passed in the Senate.
It's likely not to, right?
Yeah. So, you're right. It's deadlock, and that's a good segue to my next topic that I was thinking about this the other day. Mm-hmm. What do we do if we lose? Like Donald Trump does lose and we get a Democratic president.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter if the legislation can't get to him if we've still got deadlock. So again, focus on the smaller elections rather than the presidential elections.
Yeah, back down. Yeah, back down to the state elections, mm-hmm. and senators and representatives is where it's all going to be at.
Because people will say, well, executive order. Look at Kamala Harris, and she's going to executive order this and do that. Here's the problem. How many executive orders has Trump done that the court systems have blocked, right? His immigration bans and his no flight, whatever deal ban. And there's been several things that Trump has done immigration-wise that the courts have blocked. They said, no, you can't do that.
Oh, yeah.
So here's the thing. Trump, and I say that, his administration, right, has put in position a lot of judges. So when she comes in, or, whoever it is, right, let's say it's Kamala Harris, and let's say she comes in guns a-blazing and she's going to do all these executive orders and do these things, there's judges in play that can shoot that stuff down, that can shield us from that at least a little bit.
Yeah, you're right. I was actually reading something about that too, is people, don't realize that they've passed. I think there's 104 judges mm-hmm. on the lower levels,
right,
that the Senate has passed.
Yep.
So.
And here's the deal: the Senate is who confirms those. So if we can control the Senate, then let's say it's a Kamala Harris, cannot appoint judges to let her stuff slide. So it's a win.
True. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But then if we win at the federal level, we don't want to sit back on our asses again. We want to keep pushing to get our rights back. We
haven't had a win. I'll tell you what we need. And I talked about this with a gentleman yesterday. What we need, and we don't have it. Some people would argue maybe that the Heller case was. I don't think it was. Because you're just not seeing that utilized at all. It's not resonating. What we need as far as the 2A community, we need a 2A equivalent of Roe v. Wade. That's what we need. We need a 2A Supreme Court decision that has the power and influence that Roe v. Wade has had all these years. If we could get that, we would be okay as far as Second Amendment for some time, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're right, we do. But, there's a lot of gun cases or Second Amendment cases that have come up, and the court just will not look at them.
Well, they're bound by there is jurisprudence or whatever you call it, but their procedures is bound. Like they can't take on, all of these cases just on the Second Amendment. They have to filter through one at a time, and there have to be a process, and it has to go through the lower courts correctly, and what am I thinking? The way that the amicus briefs are filed, and there's just so much involved with the court process. People think it's as simple as you make a phone call and say, I want to get this in the Supreme Court, and then tomorrow they hear it or something. And it doesn't work like that, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I'm hoping for too. But it's hang on, I'm just reading here. What Sabrina says, I think everyone has the right to do the thing they like. If shooting is your hobby, then you need to choose to do this sport. The shootings at school is a whole different story.
Oh yeah,
right. But they jam it all into one. Sabrina's one of my new subscribers. She's
nice.
based over in the Netherlands.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So as I said, Philo says, I doubt that the judiciary will oppose gun control with the same passion they display for Trump.
Well, here's the thing. Judiciary has a way historically of siding with pro-2A, pro-gun stuff when the arguments are made correctly. But the thing is, the arguments can't be made in the form of, shall I be infringed? It don't work like that. The arguments need to be made in the form of liberty, in the form of commerce, in the form of, falling back on common, you hear the term common use as applied to, modern sporting rifles and common use and stuff like that. Kind of like it's always been this way. It's always been done this way. This is, I don't want to say the precedent, because we don't have a whole lot of, and that's my point with the Roe v. Wade thing, we don't have a whole lot of precedent when it comes to 2A and court stuff. We've just had nobody willing to fight with the fervor that it seems like FPC and GOA and Second Amendment Foundation and everybody is fighting in the courts like they have been for years now. We did not have that for many, many, many decades in this country as they was passing the Gun Control Act and doing this and doing that. So if we had the same type of, and you can attribute a lot of that to social media, right? Being able to get the word out. If we had that, it makes me wonder that, like Hughes Amendment in 86 or Gun Control Act in 1968 or something like that, with such regulation and overreach being applied to that. I mean, 86 for Pete's sake, kills an entire sector of the firearm industry, just kills it with the stroke of a pen, basically, when that was signed into legislation. And so you got to think that with the way the courts were laid out then, with the type of sentiment that we have nowadays, we potentially could have stopped all that back then. And it's one of them things to where you always hear that, well, when you've got the money, you ain't got the time, and when you've got the time, you ain't got the money, right? And I think that's what it is. When we've got the courts that are willing to do something, we don't have, like you talked about, we don't have the people getting off their butts enough and pushing it, right? To where we can get something to happen, and it's just a reverse. And then when we don't have the courts, well, then people are all up in arms and ready to go and rallying and doing all this and doing all that. Well, why aren't you don't sit back on your laurels when you have a court that's actually willing to potentially do something? You keep up that fight. You don't sit back and go, oh, well, we got a Kavanaugh, or we got this, or we got a Gorsuch, or we got that, we're good now. No. You keep pushing it. That way those people will hear it, and then potentially we can get an actual landmark case. Because, like I said, Heller is often referred to as a landmark case, but I haven't really seen any repercussions to come out of that to me are landmark. So no. I'm still on the fence with that, and I think we haven't had that landmark case. We really need one.
Yeah, you're right, and a lot of lower, the state Supreme Courts, a lot of them totally ignore it.
Uh-huh.
And if it was like Wade v's Roe, mm-hmm. I don't think the lower courts would go against it.
Right.
So. Right. You're right. It doesn't have the power as that one does.
It just doesn't have that significance to it that if we could ever, like I said, we could ever get something on the scale of Roe v. Wade, then I think your states, your district courts and stuff like that, they would not want to buck that. They would not want to go against it.
Yeah. what's called there's said there's another that Illinois case is down there with us hoping they'll pick the cert up on that one on the concealed carry license. I mean, that would be a good one. Would it be another landmark? I don't know. I mean, that's that. I mean, that would say every state's got to recognize other people's licenses, and that would be a tough. I mean, states like California, for instance, even my old state I lived in, Rhode Island, they do not recognize anybody else's license. They don't, and they're like Illinois. They do not offer a non-resident license because they have a shooting qualification to get one. Mm-hmm. And if you're in California and you're applying for a Rhode Island license, how do you do the qualification?
Right.
You can't. So that would be nice if that one worked. I mean, that's almost getting the national reciprocity.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I've been seeing too up in Washington, Dan with Sporting Systems, and of course the Second Amendment Foundation. They've been doing some really good stuff. They're really starting. Looks like getting some movement and starting to whittle away at I-1639 up there. And if they can make that happen,
now
that'll be cool.
That other thing that's happening now, is that going to take off? Where they're trying to do a initiative ballot to get rid of 1639?
I think so. I mean, it's looking good at this point. I mean, it's tough to say, but it's looking good.
Yeah, because didn't they just win a case up there on something on one of the little parts of 1639?
Yeah, I don't remember. It has having to do with storage, I think, or something. Yeah. Which was just one part of many. That's bad on that.
Oh yeah. Oh, Ozzy Osbourne said something earlier, sort of like backtracking on ourselves. I've said this many times myself. Ozzy Osbourne is when it comes back to our president Trump. Everybody says he's the worst president we've ever had, and he's anti-gun and everything else. But here, as Ozzy says, tell me what anti-gun bill he has signed. He ain't signed anything. Now, he did instruct the Justice Department to do the bump stock thing.
Right.
But he has not signed any bill. No, across his desk.
The bump stock thing is a loophole, right? That's one of them things to where he said, what can I do that I don't have my name on? You're right. I mean, it's kind of that plausible deniability. I mean, it falls square on his shoulders because he is the head of the executive branch, and that's where all of those departments fall under. So make no mistake, it falls directly on his shoulders. But I mean, you're right. It wasn't something that he with the stroke of the pen basically passed.
Yeah.
The problem with that is I view that personally as an anti-2A move, as an anti-gun move. That being said, I don't believe he is an anti-gun person. He is an I don't give two craps about really anything person. Unless it suits his goals, his poll numbers.
Yeah, it makes him look good.
The way he looks, if whatever, yeah, exactly. Something he can tweet about, whatever. He don't care, and I don't know. I mean, maybe Trump to me is a little bit more dangerous than somebody like an Obama because Obama telegraphs his moves, right? Or did?
Yeah.
He was one of those normal politicians, more or less, that telegraphed their moves. And so you had an opportunity to counter, right? You had an opportunity to prepare, to mount a defensive, to counter, and all that kind of stuff. Whereas Trump is kind of like fly by the seat of his freaking pants from one day to the next. Who freaking knows? He's kind of erratic. And that's a little bit more dangerous because if we're not on our game, if we're not paying attention, and the right people get to him and say, oh, well, this is a good idea, then we don't have enough time to to mount the effort to go, no, this is not a good idea.
Yeah. The only thing I was saying this the other day in the daytime chat I go into, what's the only thing that worries me, as you said about this, is Trump's whim. Is if he wins in 2020, which I think he's going to, by the looks of what they're trying to put up against him. Right, but you never know. But if he wins again, now that would be his second term. And if he does, I mean, he could say screw the Second Amendment lobby. What are they going to do to me? I can't run anymore anyway.
Right.
So he could sign something anti-gun. If he wins again. So I don't know. I'm coming up with all kinds of conspiracies and jumping ahead of the game here. So just taking it as it's happening right now. Right. Here's another one that really got me. Was I got this off of Ammo Land. A girl, you read this one, the Colorado high school student posted a picture with her brother, who was a combat overseas, in the U.S. Army. And she was holding a handgun. He was holding an AR-15, and they suspended her from school for a week because of the photo, because it was on Snapchat, and a few people in her students in the school and felt threatened by it. So the school suspended her. I said, Jesus Christ, what are we coming to?
Right.
I'm trying to find it. I got the thing up there. I'm trying to find it.
I heard that. I had. Okay. Well, let's see. Is this the one? No, maybe this.
Ammo Land. It's titled "Colorado Student Suspended for Gun Picture on Snapchat." It's written by
It was a girl, right?
John Crump.
Yeah, I'm looking for an alternative source, though.
Okay, but
no offense to John and no offense to Ammo Land, but that is very pro to a fairly right wing leaning, and so
you're right. It is. But I mean, from what I read is there's nothing in the school rules that says she's done anything wrong.
Right.
So they're wondering why they're doing. Now, the only thing I can think of, here you go, was also, this is right towards the end of the paragraph, he does slip it in there, is the battle flag of Northern Virginia was in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the Confederate flag, as we know it, as most people call it. So, I guess they're thinking white supremacists or some shit.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm going through here. I mean, I'm trying to find some alternative, from the left articles, and I don't see any.
Yeah.
Suspended for concerns over safety, it's saying. Okay, well, that's interesting. What is these explicit gestures she's talking about, or they were talking about?
There's no mention of that in this one.
Yeah, there's something in here talking about explicit gestures. It goes back to what I was telling you earlier, Rick. You can do or say things that are off color. They're not against the law, but they're not taking her to jail, right? She got suspended from school. Totally different thing. You can do certain things that are not cool, right? And you potentially are going to reap repercussions for that. I'm not saying that that's the case.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, here it says the caption on the photo reads, "Me and my legal guardian are going to the gun range to practice gun safety and responsible gun ownership while getting better so we can protect ourselves." Also using the First Amendment to practice our Second Amendment.
Right. So here it is. I'm looking at the picture. So they're they're in garb, right? Whatever you call what are the hood things that I don't even know, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Flipping the camera off, Confederate flag in the background. It's I get it. That's not she's on the range with an AR-15 shooting an AR-15. That's not her standing there in normal garb. You know what I mean? Just holding a rifle. I can see looking at this picture where it could potentially be threatening. I mean, even if it was this picture without them flipping off the camera, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, I can sort of get it in a way.
Yeah, you got. I mean, I guess so, but it's. I don't know. I mean, you're. It seems that everybody's getting butthurt over stupid stuff nowadays.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is it stupid when how many weeks ago a person walks into a school and shoots it up? How many months ago when a person walks into the school and shoots it up? When you've got a student that posts a picture in, decked out, freaking tacked out, face covered, all except for her eyes, tacked out, flipping off the camera and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, this isn't a range pic. This isn't a kid was on the range and sharing a picture. This isn't a kid got a new gun and was sharing a picture. This picture was taken to make a point.
Yeah, you're right. I guess you're right. I mean, and with the Confederate flag in the background and everything else, it could, I guess, you got a point. It could.
It was what I'm saying is, I'm not saying it was wrong. I'm saying it was off color. And when you've got a heightened state of emotion like we do in this country when it comes to this fear, which is an unrealistic fear, let's address that right off the top, right? This fear that your children are going to die in school at the hands of a mass murder is stupid because the odds are ridiculously low that that's going to happen. They're going to die of obesity or something that you feed them, probably more than way more than that. So it's an unrealistic fear. Okay. That aside, there's still that fear and emotion running through society. And then when you put out something like this that's off color, then there's going to be some type of repercussion. And there wasn't. It's like I said, it's not like there was criminal stuff. It's not like she was arrested for making a threat or anything like that. The school just said, hey, we're going to suspend. Basically, the school said, we're going to suspend her for 5 days until we can figure this out. Right. In other words, because they had parents and they had other kids. And this is from part of the story, other stories that I've read here the last couple of minutes. But they had other parents and kids that were freaked out over this, right? And they're like, well, we're not sending our kids to school. We're not sending our kids to school. They were scared or whatever. So the school said, okay, we're going to suspend. We're going to figure out what's going on, and that's just the way that they handled it, right? I don't know what's the right move in that situation. I don't know. I can't say. I mean, if you truly knew that kid and you knew that kid was, let's say you were the principal or you were in the administration of that school district somewhere, but I would have to go back and do some homework. How many kids are we talking about in the school, right? Because some schools you're talking about have, anywhere from hundreds to thousands of kids per grade. So administrators and teachers and stuff they don't really know these students, so they don't know if that's something to be concerned about or not. We talk about identifiers, okay? We talk about Florida, we talk about Parkland, we talk about all the quote unquote red flags that kid had. Well, what do you consider we need to pay attention to this? What types of things do you consider that, hey, we need to be paying attention to this? If she was on a range, her brother was taking the picture off from a side angle or something while she was shooting an AR-15, or like I said, she was just standing there holding an AR-15 in normal clothes or whatever. Cool. But then when you go as far as to wrap your face up to hide your face and flip off the camera and have a Confederate flag in the background and all this, at that point, do we need to be kind of vigilant about that and maybe paying some type of attention to that? because at some point we've got to try to at least identify potential problem children in these school districts. We've got to. And sadly, which seems to be this case, the kids that do stupid stuff, they're not messed up in the head. They're not, planning things out. They just do stupid crap. That's probably going to get caught up from here on out. We need to be aware of this. We need to be teaching our kids this and saying, hey, it's cool. You want to take pictures of you holding the gun. You want to take pictures when you're on the range. As a parent, I will defend that. But when you cross the line of this kind of looks threatening, at that point, as a parent, okay, it's understandable why my child got in trouble. So I don't know how her parents feel. It would be interesting to kind of hear the story from their side to see what they say. But yeah, I think we need to, and that's, again, that's why I was looking for another, that's why I was looking for some other articles just to kind of be sure here of what I was saying. But I've said this with all of the kids from the only one I can think of as far as the kids posting on social media and getting in trouble with the school district, right? The only one I can think of in recent time, and by all means, anybody out there in the chat, whatever, I've got it up, but I'm not necessarily watching it. If I'm missing one, let me know. But the only one I can think of is the New Jersey kids that had the pellet rifles. You remember that one? And they posted some stuff of them with the pellet rifles on the range. You remember when that come up? That's the only one that I've been able to go through all the sources, look at all the quotes, look at all the other stuff, and say, okay, they were doing nothing wrong. But oh my God, that was in New Jersey. So is it really shocking? All of the rest, there's some type of off color. There was something there, and if you give them something, especially if they're, like I said, with the heightened state of awareness and heightened state of emotion, something's going to come around to bite you. It's just going to happen.
Yeah. Sabrina in the Netherlands says, I think that safety always comes first. Here in the Netherlands, mostly situations must, I'm trying to think how word is, must vary, escalate. Okay. So her English is not always 100% like we're used to. Another situation, they escalate and then they take action. Always too late. In this situation, one girl stayed home for 5 days, to do to stop that, I guess.
Right. So, well, it's like midnight out there. He says, but if parents wouldn't send their kids to school with one of our kids because we're gun people, would they suspend our kids? Well, first of all, I don't know of any parents that wouldn't send their kids to school just because my kid was a gun kid, right? This kid did something off color. If my kid did something off color, then I would take responsibility and I would say, okay, my kid needs to stay home for 5 days because my kid did something off color. So if staying home for 5 days is what it takes to make everybody feel better and make everybody understand that my kid really isn't a threat, they were just being stupid, then so be it. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But at some point, holler, we got to stop these, mass murders. We got to do this. We got to do something. We got to do that. And then we get all off, on edge or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, a good example, go back to the Florida shooting, right? That guy had so many things against him.
Yeah.
Right? And nobody done anything. So, I mean, where I'm going with this, I'm not trying to be an ass here, but I mean, I mean, it's very rare that I don't agree with him, but Rich White says schools should not be disciplining for things that do not take place on our on-school time. But go back to the Florida thing. They didn't, and look what happened.
It's a safety thing. It's a safety thing.
Yeah.
I would be interested in hearing
on this one. You got to start somewhere.
I would be interested in hearing from Rich. Then what should they do? If it's a case where something is either off color, it looks off, it looks dangerous, it looks threatening, something's going on, right? What is the recourse? If the school should have no authority to be able to keep that kid home until they can assess the situation, then what should be done? Because this is the case to where, okay, this kid was just being stupid. Okay, great. The next one may not be. And then they don't do nothing. And then a week after, they do nothing, they go in and they shoot up the school. And then we're back here and we're having the same conversation like Parkland that, well, they had the opportunity to kind of look at the kid and figure out if the kid was mentally off or having trouble or being bullied or what was going on, right?
Yeah. Oh, Rich White said Parkland wasn't the same situation. That kid had broken the law and was allowed to get away with it by law enforcement.
Well, that was later on. That kid had done all kinds of weird things early in life. Similar weirdness. That kid had problems from a very, very, very early age. So, and it progressed into issues that were breaking the law. But he didn't start out that way.
Yeah. It's I know. Then Patrick, I don't know anything about this. Patrick Brown, that one about the North Texas kid who made a fake bomb and took it to school as a science project. Mm-hmm. He got to meet Obama.
Oh yeah.
About
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So we've got. I mean, it is a tough question.
Yeah, this is cool.
It goes back to we got to do something. Start somewhere.
The bomb thing, that was a school sanctioned thing, right?
Yeah.
So that wasn't some outside the fray. The school kind of knew that the science project things was going on. The school knew that that's what he was working on. There was somebody there, right, that knew something. This was a post that nobody knew when we're talking about the school in Colorado that nobody knew anything about. Yeah. And Rich is saying we don't give up freedom for safety. Where we gave up freedom? We didn't kick her completely out of school. She didn't get kicked out of school completely. It's just like, hey, we got all kinds of things in this country in play to be able to separate people and whatever. No freedoms were infringed on with her. Do you have the?
Okay, here's a question for you. Suspending her from school, is that going to go against her when she applies to college and stuff like that?
I shouldn't know.
Is it going to show up on her records that she's been suspended?
It will probably show up, but from my experience in the last 5-6 years, my experience anyway with colleges and what they look at, they're looking at more so grades and extracurriculars is what they're looking at. They don't really look at attendance records. They don't really look at, disciplinary things. They don't really look at that because those kids that do a lot of extracurriculars and have the grades, by nature, by design, are not going to be trouble children. So they're not going to have high absences and they're not going to have a lot of, being expelled and disciplinary issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can't be both. You can't never go to school and always be getting expelled and have high grades and do a lot of extracurriculars. It's the two don't mesh. It's oil and water. So, from a college standpoint, I don't see it being a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Sabrina says freedom is very important, but safety is also very important. And they need to come along with each other. They both have priority. They do.
Well, it's not like she wasn't arrested and incarcerated, right, for it.
Yeah.
So technically she didn't have any freedoms violated. Well, we're talking about a school, and on top of that, we're talking about a charter school, right? We're talking about a private school. We're not even talking about a public school.
I don't know. It didn't go into that much detail on the article I read. But Rick said if you're suspending a kid for breaking no rules and no proper channels, then it's a violation of her rights.
Well, they don't know what the proper rules are, right? I don't know. Does Rich have kids? Rich has kids, right?
I believe he does. Yeah. Yeah.
So I fail to believe if there was a threatening, menacing picture of one of your kids, put yourself in this position regardless, and you run across a threatening, menacing, whatever looking picture, okay? And that was your kid's school, you would not have concern? And then so as a parent, as an educator, as an administrator, what's the recourse? What?
Yeah.
Just let them go to school while you try to figure it out. And then if there are whack jobs, you let them go to school and you piss them off even more or make them mad even more. Is that what you do? I mean, I don't know. I don't know, but there's I don't know. I don't see a problem. I don't like it. I don't like it. But like I said, we can't have it both ways. There's either going to be kids that do stupid crap that get what is the word? Unjustly, I guess. There's either going to be kids that do stupid crap that get unjustly caught up in the flow, or we just sit back and not do anything and not worry about anything. And when a kid goes ballistic on a school, then we get on the internet and we shall not be infringed and we rant and we rail and somebody needs, we need to do something and we need to do this and we need to arm teachers and we need to blah, 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 blah. When all we could have done is maybe suspended the kid if we had an early indication of something, suspend one for a few days till we figure out if that kid's got problems, and if that kid does have problems, get them help.
Yeah. Well, Rich White says if there is a threatening picture, that is not the school's duty. Call the police and let law enforcement handle it if you're that scared. Yeah.
So wait until it's an actual crime.
Isn't it the school's duty to look after the kids?
Do what?
Isn't it the school's duty to look after the kids? Not babysit, but I mean their well-being. And that's part of a school's overall thing.
It is.
Yeah. No, I don't know. It's I mean, it's one of these things. I'm bringing up a topic here. I don't have an answer for. That's why I threw it out there. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Okay, Calaver, you see Calaver's here? Can you ask Clover about the school's zero tolerance policies?
I don't know what he's talking about.
No, I don't either.
Ask Clover about the school's zero tolerance policy. What school? The one that she went to? Or whose schools? Because you got to realize schools are different depending on where you live.
Yeah.
We got pretty good schools here. My kids wore shirts with Smith & Wesson and all kinds of crap on them. Not a problem. Never had an issue.
Yeah.
I got kids still wearing, firearms on their shirts to this day, in the 4-H club and all that, wearing them to school. No problem. So I don't understand. I don't understand what he's talking about.
Rich Wright again says, we do not prosecute people in this country based on what might happen, which is true.
Well, and she wasn't prosecuted. That's the thing. We just took a break and said we got to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, but couldn't they have figured out what's going on while she's still at school?
Was there a better way of doing this? I'm not for a second going to disagree that there could have been a better way to handle this. I'm not for a second going to disagree with that. But I'm not going to agree that what she did was okay and what they did was completely out of line. I'm not going to agree with that either. Like most things, the truth and the answer lies somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Good. That's a good point. I don't know the answer myself. I really don't. Nobody likes to see, some kid go through life all of a sudden goes into school and starts shooting it. Just it. Oh, hang on a minute. Are you reading the chat here, Clover?
Yeah. Well, now I know what he's talking about. Yeah, the schools that do the suspension thing for like kindergartners that do a finger gun or a Pop-Tart gun, that's dumb. Period. Dumb. Period. Like I said, if there's I get it in this instance. I get it with the kid that posted, and I think he was from Colorado too, that posted that there was the big hoopla about, and the caption read, "Gonna light them up" or something.
Yeah.
I get it. That's off color. That could be misconstrued a different way, just like the picture this girl posted. I get it. There's potential question around that. Some little kid that just makes a finger gun playing around, or a Pop-Tart gun, just look what I made, biting it or something. It's all in the context, and you got to look at like the bigger picture of things. Now, if a little kid is running around making a finger gun and is like threatening other kids or something, then yeah, I mean that needs to be dealt with in some way. It's like, what do you mean? He's doing the finger gun. He's like, I'm gonna kill you, and I'm gonna kill you. Then maybe that kid needs to go see the counselor or do something and figure out what's going on at that point. But yeah, I mean, I go back to, I would have no qualms with this, and golly, I hate to keep harping on this Colorado girl. I would have no qualms with her if it was just her standing there at a range shooting an AR-15. I'd go, the school's stupid. They crossed the line, period. But I can see the concern. Looking at that picture, I can see the concern. And you can't tell me that if you got somebody dressed like that with a rifle like that slung across their chest and they're walking down the sidewalk in front of your house, you're not going to have a little bit of concern. You are.
Yeah, you're right. Hey, Black.
Hopefully you're strapped and you're protecting yourself and you're not scared of them, but you can't tell me you're not going to have some kind of concern.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to go back in and look for that picture you're talking about because they're not showing that one on the article I saw. But if you didn't know about the article and you saw that picture, from the way you were describing it, my first thought would be, hang on, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? But I'm looking at it right now as well. From what I can tell, from what I've read, she meant no harm or anything by it.
Right. Very well. I'm not accusing her of making threats or anything. I'm not even going down that road. It's like I've said 10 times already. Kids are going to do, even grown-ups do it. And I warned against that at the top of your show there, that, we've got to be careful not to be off color or say things or do things in a way that can be construed something different or cause concern.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, this country has changed with, as you said at the beginning, with social media out there and all this stuff. We're 24/7 society with this, with the internet and cell phones and everything else.
It's
changed.
Everybody out there, Rick, yourself, the people in the chat, the people listening later, everybody out there, if they're practicing anyway, their vigilance and they're being aware of their surroundings, everybody is going to gauge every single little thing in society, every single thing from day to day according to what they see. And if you see a person dressed nicely from head to toe, whatever, walk into the grocery store, what? Probably no flags are going to go up. You're fine, whatever. You see the manager over there in his slacks and ties, cool. You see somebody walk in with a whatever rag wrapped around their freaking head with an AR slung, that's going to hit on a different level of awareness for you than that other stuff. And that's all I'm trying to say. That's going to bring a little bit of concern to the forefront.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I mean, you're right. Somebody walking around dressed nicely, I pay no attention to, but we should. I agree. I mean, that person walking around dressed nicely all of a sudden opens his coat up and has an Uzi hanging there and starts blasting away.
I'm not saying, yeah, exactly. I'm not saying you can't be wrong. The guy that's wearing the hood wrap, the head wrap, and the with the AK slung across his chest may be the good guy, and the dude that walked in a ankle length trench coat that had the top hat on or the whatever kind of hat on, and looked all distinguished. I mean, he liable to open fire on everybody. I mean, you don't know, but I'm just saying, all we can go on is visually what we're seeing, right? And we look at that and we assess that in certain ways. And with everybody, it's different. Everybody's going to assess things differently. If you're somebody that carries every day, you're going to assess things a whole lot different than somebody who doesn't carry every day. I don't have nearly as high a level of concern, for people. It may catch my attention, but it's like I'm not scared of them because, if they do something, I'm prepared. I'm prepared to defend myself. So I'm good, right? Yeah. But I still have that awareness.
Yeah.
Blind shooters are having issues today, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, blind shooter, Squib hasn't come in today. He might be with his kids, but they've been having trouble with gun chambers. Does
it act weird with mobile?
Yes.
What it is.
Yeah. He's gone gray here on the screen. That means he's disconnected again. It's not letting him connect for some reason. It gets in, but that's as far as it lets him,
Yeah, Rich is talking about JROTC in school. Yeah.
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 Now, what's that whole thing? In the age of video games, do you have any idea how many kids are saying things like, "I'll friggin' kill you. I'm going to sniper you. I'm going to blow you up." This ain't about safety. It's about control.
I'll never forget this because I use this story all the time, especially when I'm training other coaches and new coaches and stuff like that. I used to do twice a year, did what they called Ag Day, and they would bring out third, fourth, and fifth graders, I believe is what it was, from the local schools. And we all had like stations set up. Well, mine was the shooting sports and all. And of course, we would have all the guns out there. We'd have the bows and stuff out there too, but we'd have all the guns out there. They would be, no, I've never brought any ammo, and they were all chamber flagged and, made safe and all that. And we would let the kids handle them and do other things while they were there. And I'll never forget. And the dead horse is dead on, man. And that's the dangerous line that we walk, unfortunately, because it desensitizes kids to the point that they don't realize that's off color. And that's where parenting, I think, comes into play, right? I think we've got a huge lack in this country of good parents. And we've got to get back around to that somehow. I don't know how. But anyway, back to my story. A group of kids walks up, and immediately this kid points and he goes, "Oh, check that out." And it was one of the precision rifles, right? He goes, "Check that out, sniper rifle. Man, I could make a headshot with that one." And I said, and anyway, so I walked over next to him and I kneeled down and I said, "Well," I said, "that's not what we do with those." I said, "Those are sporting equipment and we use those for competition. We don't use firearms to harm other people." And just dealt with it the best way I knew how to deal with it. But I definitely felt I needed to address it because he said it loud enough that other kids in the group heard what he said.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, it's time to establish some authority, to be a parent, because his parents wasn't there. He was there with a couple of his teachers, they were in each class. And it's like, we're going to lay down the law and we're going to say, no, that's not appropriate and that's not correct.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's not. I think I would have done the same thing. I think if I was a parent in the crowd, I might have burst out laughing when he said it. But, because it sounds funny. But you're right. You did the right thing, I feel. So, anyway, real quick. It's been an hour and I haven't given the answer to my quiz from last week.
Yeah, it's been a good chat.
Yeah, it has. So let me do my quiz thing real quick, then we'll carry on. All right. My question last week, actually, I think I had 6 or 7 entries, which surprised the hell out of me. My question was last week, I wanted to know what the Queen of England's her full name at birth of her husband before they got married, and who did she take over from to become queen?
Before you tell the answer and announce the winner, can I make a guess to that right quick?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm an American, Rick. I don't care. That's my answer.
Yeah, but it was a good prize. It was stickers and all kinds of good stuff.
Rick's over here promoting the crown. I'm just telling everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Queen Elizabeth was born on April 21st, 1926. Her full name at birth was Elizabeth Alexander Mary, and she was born of the royal house of Windsor. So therefore, Queen Elizabeth's last name is Windsor. She got married on November 20, 1947 to a man whose name was Lieutenant Philip Mountbatten. That isn't his name now, but she got coronated in 53. She ascended to the throne at the age of 25 upon the death of her father, George the Sixth.
So Elizabeth is the bloodline, right?
Yes.
So with the crown, it goes by the bloodline, correct?
Correct.
So what happens since you're obviously from there, so I'm sure you're up to speed on this. So what happens if there's something to where the bloodline ends? Does it then go through marriage to somebody, or how does that work?
Well, oh shit! I'll be honest with you, I don't know, because there's always been a bloodline.
Yeah, I'm thinking if they don't have kids, or if something happens, their kids die, right? They got killed in a car wreck or a disease or something. And then there's no bloodline, and it's like, does it go to a niece or a nephew or something weird? Or
it would go to a niece or nephew.
Okay.
It would go. Yeah, it would. It'd go way down. I mean, every time, like right now, if the Queen passed away today, Prince Charles would become king.
Right.
Then it's his kids
always
after him.
Right.
Then it's their kids. So every time, what I'm trying to think of I get the kids mixed up. Harry's the one that married the American.
Oh, dude, I don't keep up, so I don't even know.
The older one,
yeah.
Right? Every time they have a child, like the one who married the American star, their child gets dropped down a notch. You know what I'm saying? Because of the way it works. It's always on the bloodline of the oldest son.
Gotcha.
Normally. Unless there's no son, then it will fall to the girl.
That's to the daughter.
Elizabeth.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's get to the answer. I haven't been keeping an eye on the chat, but all right. Where's my random picker here? I use. Okay, I'm going to draw now. I had 7 people enter, and let me hit my button.
That's just too much love for England, people. I'm telling you.
Yeah. The winner is, and he's not even here today, is Patriot in the Dark.
Oh, rigged. I call rigged.
Because you know what? I was hoping for? I was hoping for Sabrina over to the Netherlands to win. Because she entered and she got it right, too.
Well, you should have rigged it for her. Rick, nobody would have known.
I know. But I try to be honest. So
you need to have her on. That's who needs to be your co-host next week.
Yes, I've got your email, Sabrina, where you emailed me the answer to that question. I will add you to my chat list for you to come on the show if you want to. So I'm just putting that out there. I'll send you an email with an invitation to join the chat, and it's up to you whether you want to or not.
Yeah.
You don't have to. So
Rich out there, he says Patriot said he could have it, and I'll confirm that for him. I did hear that as well.
Yeah. Okay, now for this week's quiz, there's 2 patches, some stickers. I think there's some good patches in here this time. What have I got? I got this sort of like spaceship, space type
That's a
Gun
Buck
pack.
Rogers. Yeah, like a Buck Rogers pistol or something, man.
Yeah. Then I got a Spartan Arms patch and a bunch of stickers in here. And I might add some more stuff in there too, because this is a tough question I'm coming up with now. Here's one for you. What I want to know is who was it and what was the outcome? It's to do with 1896 Sharkey and Fitzsimmons championship boxing match. I want to know who refereed it and what was the outcome of the fight. There you go. 1896 Sharkey and Fitzsimmons
I think I know.
fight. I want to know who refereed it and what was the outcome of the fight.
I think I know that. I may have to play. I like that Buck Rogers patch there. That's kind of cool.
Okay, email me at Rickslifeasiseeit at gmail.com or spottedrick@gmail.com.
Not to drop
by noon next Saturday.
not to drop a hint on that or nothing, Rick, but wasn't that kind of controversial?
Yes.
Okay, I'm thinking right then, probably.
Yeah. Is there lip balm in there? No, there isn't. I'll see if I got any left. I did have some.
I don't have any or any more.
I think it was you that sent me a bunch of them.
I had a bunch of that left over from Shot Show, it was like Shot Show like 2 years ago or something.
Yeah, you sent me a bunch of them, and I've given them away. I have to look in your box, see if there's any left in the bottom. So since there's no lip balm, Raphael says he's not writing in the answer.
It's that time of the year for lip balm too. It's starting to cool off, starting to need it.
Yeah. So that's it. So that's the quiz. So you can get them in me. Squib loads in the chat too. How you doing, Squib? You're having trouble with the program, or you're not even going to try today. So show's almost over anyway. So you got anything else you want to talk about, Patriot? Patriot. Sorry about that. I've written his name down there. Is what made me say it. Anything else to talk about?
I'm offended now. I'm offended. You accuse me of that being that dude that rigs everything.
Yeah, I think he's got a house full of kids today because his daughter's off of school this week.
I don't have anything. I mean, I jumped off. Last week I had to jump off pretty quick.
Oh yeah. How did everybody turn out okay?
I was all good. Yeah, she did what she was supposed to do. She didn't swerve. I've always told my kids, you don't swerve for an animal because it's way worse running off the road. Trees don't have no give.
Yeah.
And so she didn't swerve, and it jacked up her little Jeep, whatever it is, the front fender and the hood and the headlight and all pretty bad. It's still drivable though. So.
Yeah, won't insurance take care of that?
Oh yeah. I think I talked to her this morning, as a matter of fact, and I think she said next week she's got to take it to the body shop and get a loaner card and go through. Man, we've all been through it, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, Dead Horse is to remind everybody. 1 week today is the 2A rally in DC. From what I can understand, it's good. There should be a good turnout.
Yeah, it does. It looks like a good one. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to go, but I mean, unfortunately, it's my cats. I can get people to look after them, but then when I tell them, well, you got to give the older one 2 injections.
Oh,
that throws a wrench in the works.
Right.
And I don't blame him. I mean, I'm used to doing it. And he's quite good. He'll stand there and let you jab him with the needle. Doesn't even flinch,
nice.
But it's getting somebody to learn how to do it.
What you need to do, see what you do now is buy a dart gun for him, and then you just walk in the door and pop, and he'll have his medicine. Make it fun for him, right?
Yeah, you're right. But I said that's the thing is trying to find. I mean, I could take him to a kennel. But it cost me putting them in a kennel it cost me almost as much to keep them in a kennel as it would for me to drive to DC.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
Oh yeah.
unfortunately, I'm stuck on things like
Absolutely.
Tulsa and stuff like that. It's trying to find somebody to take care of these animals.
Especially if they've got especially if they've got medications and stuff
Yeah,
like you're talking about. Yeah, that's a lot different than
yeah.
the kennel just making sure they got food and water, you know.
And actually, I was reading. I mean, I don't want to go off topic here, but I was reading an article the other day. He might not be around much longer because he's actually about a year and a half older than what they say they actually live to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying he's going to drop dead, but he's a Maine Coon, and they're the biggest cat in North America. You know
So
what I'm saying?
what you say? He's on borrowed time,
Yeah.
and he's already spent 8 of his 9 lives. That's what
Yes.
you're saying.
Yes. So I don't want to see him go, but in some ways I'll be glad if he does. So if Raphael says poor cat, he's the most spoiled cat you ever seen. He's so damn. He weighs about 25 pounds.
Wow.
He's a big easy. Oh, but that's what they're meant to weigh because they are huge. He doesn't like being held. The other one does, but this one doesn't. So anyway, going off topic. So anything else we want to discuss while we're here?
I believe so, unless you got something.
Now I'm trying to think. We done that. Well, back to the very first topic. I'm just going to run over it real quick. I hope that Trump is not backing red flag laws. Well, what do we do about the states that have already implemented them? What's it going to take to get those? Because they're unconstitutional. We know that. But it's getting somebody. You say, we'll take them to court, but that costs money, unfortunately. Yeah, we have a great criminal system in this country, but it costs money to use it. That's the thing. Because none of these red flag laws, from what I can tell, like if you get arrested for a thing, they read your Miranda rights. They say if you can't afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you. They don't say that in the red flag laws. The state is not going to pay for your attorney to fight it. So you got to pay for it out of your own pocket, which I think is unfair.
Yeah.
Now we say that. From what I've researched, Indiana's had a red flag law since 2005. I think it was the first or second state to ever implement one.
Right.
But it has been used, but it's used very sparingly. And from what I can see and what I've researched, it's been used correctly here in this state.
Yeah. Well, and more recently, Maine has passed one because there's been obviously there's been a rash of states passing them recently. And Maine's is pretty good. There is some pretty good due process. It's not an ex parte type thing. It does involve you being taken into custody and, some other stuff. They just don't show up and take your stuff away. So, I would advise anybody to go read that. And people need to read the red flag laws anyway, because a lot of them are much ado about nothing. And if you look at, like Indiana, like you were talking about, if you look at a lot of them, they passed current stuff and they called it a red flag law or an extreme risk protection order when technically they already had legislation in play to deal with that. So all it really is an affirmation of what they could have already done anyway. So, some of them aren't as bad as others. But yeah, I haven't read. With Indiana's being in 2005, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I may pull that up and read it.
Yeah, online. They got a nice PDF file on it with slides and everything.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
wow. So they're really trying to make sure people understand it. That's good.
Oh yeah.
Does Indiana have a clause, or do you remember where you get in trouble if you falsely accuse somebody?
I don't know. I don't remember, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Maine does, and yeah,
They should. I think they should.
yeah, anybody should even remotely begin to consider needs to have that, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They shouldn't
You
be
get
considering it, but
I mean, you get in trouble for filing a false police report. You know what I mean? So you certainly should get in trouble for filing a false protection order.
yeah. And also, I mean, I don't mind carrying this on. Florida, though, has used the red flag law 2,400 times.
Right. And that sounds bad, but I would love, and I've heard that number. I have not parsed those numbers or actually broken them down and looked at anything broken down. I would love to see stuff broken down. What do they consider used? Was it something that somebody had already kind of gotten into some trouble, or did somebody actually make a viable threat to somebody? Because you got to realize 2,000 people in a year or whatever it's been, or has it been longer than that now, in a state like Florida? Look at the population.
Oh yeah,
you're telling me you don't have 2,000 people that's made viable, credible threats towards somebody or something? I mean, it could be legit, right?
Yeah, I think 2,000 people out of the population of the state of Florida is not even one. It's a minute percentage.
It is, and that's what I'm saying. That could be all legitimate. I mean, they were crazy making threats and off their medications, or who knows, you know? Yeah.
Raphael's in the chat. He might have some answers. He's down there in Tampa.
He's probably writing us from the. He's probably chatting from the loony bin. He's probably one of the 2,000. I think. They've got him locked up, and they give him internet access for an hour every Saturday. That's what I heard, anyway.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing too. Because he always enters. They must let him have mail too, because he always enters my competition. You know.
Right?
He's won it a couple of times too. So.
Hey, dude, he gets pretty cush treatment down there. He knows the wardens and the administrators, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Now that red flag law in Massachusetts, which I think got out of when they went and took the 84-year-old's guns away, and he lost his job. Did you read that one?
Yeah.
You know, just because the waitress heard only one sentence of the conversation, you know, and she reported it, and they took it all wrong. Luckily, he got his job back. I don't know if he got his guns back.
Well, Massachusetts is a bad example of the legislation. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's not the way we need to even remotely consider approaching that stuff.
No, you're right. I mean, now out of my 8 carry permits, I only got 7 now. I let my Massachusetts license expire for the simple reason is it's $100 a year to have a carry permit for Massachusetts.
Yeah. Do you ever plan on going over there?
I don't plan on it. No.
There you go. No. Yeah.
But I was talking to Jared, you know, from Guns and Gadgets or what, and I was because he's a policeman, and I was asking him about it. He said let it expire. He said if you let it go 2 or 3 years, and you know if you want to reapply for it, you having one will more likely get you. They will more likely let you have another one without a bunch of BS.
Right.
So that's the way I'm looking at it. Well, if I ever head back up that direction, that's what I'll do. But be honest with you, if I don't plan on moving again from Indiana. This is it. But if I do, it will be down in Florida. You know, with all the other old people. You know.
Well, just be careful down there.
Yeah. Well, that's. I got family here, i.e., uncles, cousins, and stuff. But my sons live in Florida.
Right.
Well, actually, only one of them lives in Florida. The other one's in Kansas City right now. Yeah. He's at university in med school. So
well, right now you don't have to worry about hurricanes. So
no.
Think about that.
No. What we got to worry about here is we're not really it's a tornado every now and then will hit Indiana, but very rare.
Right.
So all right. We're just waffling on now.
We are.
I'm gonna call it. I want to say thank you for everybody for stopping by in the chat there. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate you stopping by, Clover. You know, well,
Oh man,
I think we had a good conversation today.
I had fun as usual.
Yeah. So I really do appreciate it. I will be back Wednesday with Shooting with Disabilities at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Then again, I'll be back again next Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Oh, so Wednesday nights, your series is over right now, right?
Done, yeah, in the books for this year. Yep.
So when does it start up again?
Probably summertime next year.
Okay.
We may have some specials along the way. I may do, a special here and there or something like that. But as far as the actual season, every week it'll be probably summertime.
Okay. All right. I'll keep my eye out for that. All right. I will talk to everybody later. So I just want to sign off here and say thank you for being here. And I will see you all on the interwebs during the week, more than likely. Have a good one, everybody.